Football, Ronaldo leaves the team, I become Real Madrid's top card. Chapter 11. Fast forward to March 24. Inside the Castilla base, Raúl announced the squad for the next match against Celta Vigo B team. Raúl also exchanged his previous promise to Lin Chen, and Lin Chen's name was indeed on the starting list. But after the squad was announced, some fans of Castile, who had not followed the second team's matches recently, were a little puzzled. 68 Lin Chen? What about Pedro? Isn't he the original positive printing center? Without Pedro, you can use San Segundo. Why is it this Lin Chen who is never seen before? On social forums, many Castilla fans did not understand why Raúl sent a newcomer he had never met to the starting lineup. But at this time, some Castilla fans who witnessed Lin Chen's completion of the senior year did not do it, and they all sent out the game report that Lin Chen completed the senior in the last game. And the accompanying text said, "This kind of striker doesn't start? Then Castilla has no one to play." The Castilla fans who originally questioned Lin Chen were immediately dumbfounded. Hello seniors? Desperate reversal. When did the second team come up with such a genius? Castilla fans naturally know the quality of their arch-rivals Atletico B. And Lin Chen was able to lead the originally desperate Castilla to score 4 goals in a row, and all of them used very ornamental goals to stage a massacre at the home of Atletico B team. For a moment, all the fans of Castilla knew that a talented striker appeared in the second team. This goal is wonderful. I declare that I will be Lin Chen's number 1 fan in the future. Ha ha ha. You can't line up the number 1 fan. Last time, some fans got the jersey of Lin Chen's first professional game. Strength is always the best way to conquer fans. After seeing Lin Chen's feat, the fans of Castile were not only surprised, but also became loyal fans of Lin Chen, and some fans even called on others to go to watch the next game. At the same time, the match between Castilla and Celta B was also reported in China. A top news item was published on the internet to report Castilla's squad for the next game. Lin Chen started the battle. Home Celta B. After the last game, the post of Lin Chen's senior year was confirmed, which immediately caused a big sensation on the internet of Chichio. Now, after nearly a week of fermentation, fans who often follow football news know that there is a Chinese teenager who plays in the second team of Real Madrid. If some fans in football powerhouses see the current situation of Chinese fans, they will definitely laugh. After all, it's just a young player playing in the second team, even if it's Real Madrid. But for Chinese football, which has long been criticized by fans, Lin Chen's stunning appearance not only gave many fans the opportunity to release their pent-up emotions for a long time, but also pinned on the hopes of many Chinese fans. So as soon as the top news on the internet was issued, thousands of comments soon followed. Starter. So soon there will be a main position? Upstairs, do you know what the gold content of the Big Four joy is? Facing the Atletico B team to stage a senior in the half, as long as Raúl's mind is still clear, he will definitely use Lin Chen to start. Real Madrid have Chinese starters. Am I mistaken? Of course, for Chinese fans, the second team of Real Madrid is also Real Madrid. Just seeing the Chinese players wearing Real Madrid shirts, the fans are already very satisfied, let alone be able to start. So when they saw Lin Chen appear in the starting lineup, many Chinese fans were very excited and began to ask where to see Castile's live broadcast. However, after some inquiry, it was found that there was no platform in China that could broadcast West BB. But this did not stop the enthusiasm of Chinese fans, and many fans also racked their brains to use some special methods to prepare to watch the next match of Castile. March 25. Di Stefano Stadium. Castilla hosts Celta B. Inside the stadium with nearly 9,000 people was full. The turmoil on social media also made many Castilla fans know about Lin Chen. So in this game, many fans rushed to the stadium, wanting to witness Lin Chen, the young striker, playing. Although Castilla belongs to Spain's top youth academy, since Alvaro Morata was promoted to the first team in the 12th season, fans have not seen Castilla re-emerge as a talented striker. Therefore, Lin Chen's performance in the last game naturally attracted many fans of Castilla. Lin Chen. In the stadium, as soon as Lin Chen walked out of the player tunnel, he heard many fans shouting his name in unison. This scene made Lin Chen a little unexpected. Just one game made the fans remember their names, and welcomed their appearances in this way. Lin Chen couldn't help but recall the last time at the home of Atletico B team, Atletico B fans shouted Carmelo's name, and he was very envious at that time. Now in Castile's home stadium, Di Stefano Stadium, he has such a treatment. Under the dazzling lights, Lin Chen looked up at the stands, and the white wave almost filled the entire stadium. Such a fan, such an atmosphere, how can you not love? Lin Chen couldn't help but be excited. Chapter 12. At 4:30 p.m., the game officially began. Although it was only a match in the second division, the Spanish Football Association also specially sent 2 commentators to explain the match of Castile after learning about the last wonderful match. This game was really unexpected. Raul sent Lin Chen as the starting center. Commentator Buck said with his partner Higgin after seeing this Lin Chen on the field. After all, after seeing Lin Chen's brave performance in the last game, Raul really couldn't think of any reason not to send Lin Chen to fight. Higgin also teased, and then immediately said, "But Celta B is also a very strong team, having only won 5 of their last 10 games but conceded only 7 goals." As commentator Higgin said, Celta Vigo B is not a weak team. Although Celta Vigo is not a La Liga giant, as a club with a long history of more than a century, its youth training level is not worse than some La Liga giants. It can even be said that no team in La Liga can trust their youth system more than Celta Vigo, so Celta's first team often has some youth graduates. For example, Celta's top scorer in the first team, Aspas, is from his own youth academy. Although the season is not over yet, there are already many giants who have offered Aspas sky-high transfer fees. Therefore, Raul also sent the strongest team at present in this game. Lin Chen partnered with Gomez to form a double arrow, and the midfield was composed of Sioni and Oscar Rodriguez. Fran, Adrian, Hernando and Danny lined up at the back. As soon as the game started, Castilla began to attack Celta Vigo B. Albert, the head coach of Celta B team, obviously made a targeted arrangement for Lin Chen, and 2 defenders kept a close eye on Lin Chen at all times. But in this way, it leaves more room for the rest of Castilla's players. Soon, Castile had his first chance to score. As Hernando stole the ball and the ball was given to Sioni's feet, Sioni glanced up at his teammate's position and found that Lin Chen was being defended by 2 Celta B players outside the penalty area. At this time, Fran was plugging in at high speed along the side road, and Sioni did not hesitate and directly found Fran with a long pass. The latter may be due to being too fast and stumbling a little when catching the ball. However, because Celta's left-back Ricardo has been staring at Lin Chen, there is no defensive player in front of Forlan in the first place. By the time Ricardo reacted and was ready to step forward to intercept, Fran had already burst into the vicinity of the corner. Then Forlan crossed with a high ball and the ball flew over Ricardo's head and fell straight into the box. At this time, Lin Chen was already in place. Seeing this, Lin Chen exerted his whole body strength, forcefully broke away from the small movements of the Celta defenders, and directly stood up and shook his head towards the goal. Celta goalkeeper Ivan hurriedly tried to lift the ball out, but he still did not touch the ball and could only watch the ball enter the net. 1-0. Just 2 minutes into the game, Castilla scored. What a wonderful start! Lin Chen easily broke through Celta's goal with his header. The fans of Castilla obviously did not expect the goal to come so quickly, and they were a little stunned. But the fans quickly reacted and began to applaud Lin Chen's goal. Raul was also very happy to see it on the sidelines, but there were not many surprises. Before the game, Raul realized that the Celta B team was likely to defend Lin Chen closely, so he arranged for the team to give the ball to the wingers as much as possible, and then cross to Lin Chen to complete the final blow. On the court, Ivan looked very dissatisfied. How could the opposing center jump so easily? Celta's defender Aland was also bitter and couldn't say that he had used his best ability to defend Lin Chen, but he didn't expect Lin Chen to carry their pull and jump high. The height of the bounce even exceeded that of the defenders who jumped together by more than 10 centimeters. But Alandair, as the captain of the team, has no way to defend. After all, if he says that he can't defend Lin Chen, then the team may directly lose confidence in the game. The game starts again. In the 5th minute, Castilla got the ball again, and midfielder Sioni and Rodriguez made a collision and successfully picked the ball out. Sioni originally wanted to continue passing to Fran on the wing, but by this time Celta B was already on guard, and Ricardo was already on the route where Fran continued to advance. Just when Sioni hesitated to give the ball to whom, he saw that Lin Chen had already run to the penalty area and beckoned Sioni to pass the ball. Sioni then kicked the ball straight over the top and towards the box. Sioni's ball seems to be a little big, and Lin Chen may not be able to catch this pass. Seeing that the ball was about to fall on the edge of the small penalty area, Buck said with some regret. But Lin Chen did not give up this opportunity. Small forbidden area. It was exactly where Lin Chen scored 100%. Lin Chen started directly and ran to the landing point of the ball with all his strength. Alan is also close behind, wanting to destroy the ball off the line when Lin Chen catches the ball to adjust. But Lin Chen did not give Alan a chance, and the moment he received the ball, Lin Chen stood in the upper right corner of the small penalty area and shot directly. Volley. Boom. The ball should sound into the net. Score. Having scored 2 goals in just 5 minutes, the fans of Castilla were stunned. Genius. Goal machine. This is the future of Real Madrid. At the moment, Castilla's fans have nothing more than this idea in their minds. When Sioni saw Lin Chen score a goal, he also shook his head in disbelief. I originally thought that this ball was big, but I didn't expect Lin Chen to score the ball. When Raul saw that Lin Chen scored the ball again, he sat back in the coach's seat with confidence. There is Lin Chen. Just hang yourself directly into the restricted area. Chapter 13. Unlike Raul's leisurely smuggling, Celta B coach Albert was in distress at this time. Although special arrangements had been made for Lin Chen before the game, Lin Chen seemed to regard Celta's defense as nothing, and no matter how the defense could be scored by Lin Chen. Inside the stadium, the goalkeeper of Celta B did not complain again. Because Lin Chen's powerful shot was too fast, Ivan didn't react at all. Captain Åland was also a little helpless, and what made Åland a little angry was even more. Why is there a striker like Lin Chen on the pitch of West BB? Is it bad for this physical quality and shooting ability to be directly promoted to the first team to play in La Liga? 2 goals were scored in less than 5 minutes, a devastating start to the game regardless of the team it was placed on. But Celta had nowhere to retreat at this time, and if they didn't blow the horn of the counter-offensive, what awaited them was nothing more than a question of losing more and losing less. So Celta B coach Albert no longer hesitated and signaled the players to step up their attack. On the other hand, the players of Castilla, after Lin Chen scored 2 goals, the whole team played unusually freely, or loosely. It's understandable that if your team has an invincible striker, you'll be at ease. But a little carelessness on the pitch can have tragic consequences. Finally, Celta B midfielder Victor caught a mistake by Sioni. After Victor made a steal in midfield, he did not hesitate and directly handed the ball to striker Ape from Nigeria. The latter also did not disappoint his teammates, and successfully scored the ball after shaking Danny. 2-1. Celta B managed to pull a goal back. Raul was a little angry when he saw this. Do you all think you've won the game? It's less than 20 minutes now. Sioni also blushed a little when he heard Raul's reprimand. As the captain, how could he make such a low-level mistake and be easily snatched by Celta's players? It's okay, it's just a goal, I'll shoot. Lin Chen saw Sioni's predicament and took the initiative to come to the captain's side to comfort him. Sioni was also a little embarrassed to hear this, and he even let a newcomer who had just joined the team comfort him. Don't worry, I'll concentrate next. Castilla also seemed to wake up his loose attitude by this goal, and the team began to play seriously, bound to contain the attacking posture of Celta B. 38th minute. Goalkeeper Moja threw the ball directly and quickly after successfully grabbing the ball in his arms. Sioni took the ball steadily, and by this time Castilla's 2 fullbacks had already taken a step and strode along the touchline. But Sioni did not choose to give the ball to the player inserted on the wing, but found Lin Chen with a long pass. Lin Chen flew the ball and pressed the 2 defenders to take the ball steadily. Lin Chen took the ball down very domineeringly. Maybe the word domineering is not suitable for the football field, but Lin Chen's appearance when he competes for the header is really difficult to describe in other words. The commentator Buck appreciated Lin Chen after seeing Lin Chen grab the header. Then Lin Chen squeezed the defender with his body and turned around and walked into the big penalty area. The fans of Castilla also exclaimed when they saw Lin Chen forcefully bring the ball into the box. Lin Chen's physical fitness is really strong, and the defenders of Celta B team have no way to stop Lin Chen's breakthrough. The goalkeeper of Celta B team saw Lin Chen break through the defense and hurriedly attacked to block, and the 2 central defenders who had just been squeezed away were also busy chasing Lin Chen. But Lin Chen was already in the penalty area, and the defenders of Celta B did not dare to make too many moves. At this time, there was no one else in front of Lin Chen except the goalkeeper. Facing the goalkeeper Ivan, who was attacking, Lin Chen directly shoveled the bottom of the ball with his toes. Pick and shoot. Facing Ivan, Lin Chen chose a very clever way of shooting. At this time, Ivan, who had already made a motion to get off the ground, was already delusional to touch the ball again. 3-1. Lin Chen staged a hat-trick. It's so beautiful. Perfect goal. Castilla fans lamented what kind of striker this is, scoring goals too easy for him. There are even fans who are already looking forward to what it will be like for Lin Chen to enter the first team. In the Celta B dugout, manager Albert, who was still happy that his team had a goal back, could no longer laugh at this time. In just 38 minutes, the hat-trick was completed. Albert finally knows why the situation of Atletico B's 2-goal lead in the last game has been turned around. Lin Chen is simply too strong, relying on Lin Chen alone to defeat a team. Albert thought the same as the players on the field. The players of Celta B saw Lin Chen score the ball against two defenders again, and at this time their mentality had begun to collapse a little. The game starts again. The Celta B player was clearly out of form and was snatched possession by Castilla as soon as he drove the ball. Left midfielder Grabat sent another unpretentious cross, and Lin Chen scored the ball in the box. 4-1. Castile is completely crazy. This kid is simply too fierce. This is Lin Chen's 2 consecutive games to stage a senior year. It's unbelievable. The commentator was also surprised by Lin Chen's wonderful performance, and his tone could not help but be a little excited. At this time, Di Stefano Stadium had completely fallen into madness, and the fans shouted Lin Chen's name loudly. At this time, although Raul on the sidelines was also very happy with Lin Chen's goal, he then said to assistant coach Santiago in a serious tone. Lin Chen's shooting ability and physical fitness are outstanding, but the dribbling is a little poor, and there are some other weaknesses, such as you have never seen Lin Chen choose to shoot from distance. Santiago heard Raul speak so highly of Lin Chen, and he couldn't understand it. Isn't that too harsh for a young player? After all, it's just playing in the second division. Raul listened and gave a mysterious expression. West BB? Not soon. Chapter 14. It's only a matter of time before Lin Chen enters the first team. That phrase kept echoing in San Diego's mind. It's only been 2 games, and even less than half a month after joining the team, has Raul already determined that Lin Chen is about to enter the first team? After all, it is the first team of Real Madrid, the super giants of La Liga. Galactic giants in the arena. But when Santiago turned his gaze to Lin Chen, who was frantically celebrating, he couldn't help but smile bitterly with joy. What is impossible with him? At this time, the first half was not over, but Raul directly chose to replace Lin Chen. For Raul's approach, Castilla fans also agree with it, which is to protect the players. After all, after Lin Chen staged his senior year, no one can guarantee that the embarrassed Celta B team players will not make any radical moves. Lin Chen is still just a young player, and he still has a long career path in the future, so there is no need to waste energy in a game that has already been won. Right. Already a victorious game. Not only the fans, but even Castilla's coach thinks the same. If the 4-1 halftime situation can be reversed by Celta B, Raul will seriously consider whether a major change against Castilla is needed. When Lin Chen left the field, the fans of Castile stood up and applauded in congratulations, and Lin Chen also raised his hands to applaud in response to the fans. Raul directly gave a big hug to Lin Chen, who was walking to the bench. Boy! You are the most unreasonable striker I have ever seen, with the style of my day. On the other side of the continent. When Castilla played against Celta B, it was late at night. But this does not affect that there are many Chinese fans in front of the screen at this time, watching this game that is only the West B game. Although there is no broadcast copyright in China, at this time, the online understanding also deliberately cuts the game screen in real time to report the dynamics. After the game began, no one expected Lin Chen's goal to come so quickly. Blitz scores. Brace. Hat-trick. When Lin Chen scored the 4th goal to stage the Big Four joy, all the Chinese fans who were watching the game cheered, and some fans even left tears of excitement. Despite the performance of the senior year in the last game, before the game, there were still many fans who held a mentality that scoring a goal can be considered a success. After all, Chinese football has been weak for too long. So much so that the fans no longer have the arrogance they had when they entered the World Cup. Just a game of West BB. Just a Chinese player who is still in the youth academy. Witnessing Lin Chen score a goal with his own eyes can bring them long-lost hope. When Lin Chen left the field, the video of nearly 9,000 Castilla fans standing up and clapping was also transmitted back to China. All the Chinese fans who saw the video could no longer hold back their tears. I don't know how many years, since Li Taisun Jihai and others returned to China, I have never seen a foreign fan so fond of respecting a Chinese player. After the game, there were already many posts about Lin Chen on the internet. Hope of Huagua. It's a demon-like striker. What a bug. I'm crying, you guys. In addition to blind praise, there are some in-depth excavations about Lin Chen's player information on the Chichio network. For example, the blogger Real Madrid No. 7 Jesse Lingard, who last reported Lin Chen's senior year, published a blog post again. Only see today's dazzle. How much do you know about the bitterness behind the genius divine front? The article details Lin Chen's entry into the Real Mara Fabrica Youth Academy in 15 years. When the fans saw that after entering Lin Chen's youth academy, he hardly played for 2.5 years. In his mind, he directly made up a 15-year-old Chinese young player, who traveled thousands of miles to Spain to receive youth training for the football dream in his heart. However, what awaits him is the disdain of his teammates. The coach's disregard. In such a desperate situation, Lin Chen endured the white eyes of his teammates, the puzzlement of outsiders, and trained silently alone. Finally selected by Mr. Raul at a glance at a tryout. Came to Castile, and now Lin Chen. At this thought, many Chinese fans directly burst into tears. What a bitter experience this was. Lin Chen was able to survive it. Admirable. If the Chinese players have Lin Chen's courage, why is there no hope for Chinese football? Hard work and talent are indispensable. Who would have thought that there was such a poignant story behind Lin Chen's success? Brothers, I see crying. Lin Chen is really not easy, working alone in a foreign country, but also have to endure the incomprehension of others. The comment area was soon covered with comments from fans, all of whom felt sorry for Lin Chen's experience and admired his courage at the same time. At the same time, Castilla also kept the score 4-1 until the end of the game. And Lin Chen's wonderful performance in 2 consecutive games was also noticed by Pablo Sanz, assistant coach of the first team. After the game, Real Madrid's first team coach Zidane had Lin Chen's player analysis report on his desk. Chapter 15. After 2 consecutive Big Four matches, even if it was only a West B match, Lin Chen finally attracted the attention of the local Spanish media. As the biggest contributor to the team's successive victories, Lin Chen became the popular star of Castilla. For example, the Spanish Football Post, a senior media outlet in the Spanish football press, wrote directly. Castile wins streak, and the Chinese teenager shines at the Di Stefano Stadium. Although the story only occupies a small part of the news, attentive Real Madrid fans saw the news. Lin Chen, Castilla's new star. Real Madrid fans, who originally did not pay much attention to the second team, gradually learned that the second team has a talented center. Inside the Castilla training base. Another inter-team training match. Unlike sitting on the cold bench in the youth academy before, Lin Chen has now completely established himself in the main position in Castilla and has been included in the main team. Although they won 2 big wins in a row, the team members did not immerse themselves in the joy of victory, but prepared more seriously. But this game was a little different for head coach Raul. Dribble. Don't rely solely on your body. Pass. Teammates are already in place. Raul loudly guided Lin Chen's training on the sidelines. The rest of Castilla's players didn't quite understand the way they looked when they saw the manager. Lin Chen is strong enough now, why should he be so strict with him? Raul naturally had his own ideas. What Raul said to Santiago at yesterday's game wasn't a joke. If Lin Chen continues to maintain such a state, then it is only a matter of time before he enters the first team. But Raul doesn't think Lin Chen is ready to make it to the first team. Although Lin Chen's ability to grab points in front of the door is currently very strong, but other aspects are somewhat deficient, and even some are unsatisfactory. The reason why I can be invincible on the field is because it is only a game in the 2nd Division B, and the level is not high. If you reach a higher level of the arena, you can't just rely on brute force. So Raul planned to train Lin Chen before entering the first team, not just as a point-grabbing center. On the pitch. After Lin Chen was subjected to various restrictions by Raul, he also played very uncomfortable. You must know that Lin Chen now maintains the value of the beginning in addition to the full score of physical fitness. Therefore, Lin Chen can only try to adapt to the rhythm of the game and gradually find his state. At the same time, a tall bald man walked slowly into the training ground. As soon as the bald head appeared, it immediately attracted everyone's attention, even the players who were playing frequently looked at it. Seeing this, Raul reprimanded the players with a serious face, and then walked to the bald head and teased. "Hey, Mr. Coach, how come you have time to come to the second team today?" That's right, the person who came is the current Real Madrid first-team manager Zidane. Zidane was a little embarrassed by Raul's ridicule, and then touched his bald head and smiled. "Come and see how the second team is training, you continue to coach the game, leave me alone." Although Zidane is the head coach of the first team, he does not dare to raise it in front of the Prince of Real Madrid Raul. Perhaps as the former captain of Real Madrid, Raul did not expect that one day his teammates would become Real Madrid's head coach. It just so happens that a good seedling has appeared in the second team recently, see if you can guess who it is. Raul said with a mysterious smile, and then returned to the sidelines to continue coaching the team's training matches. When Zidane heard this, he naturally understood which player Raul was referring to. As soon as Zidane returned to his office yesterday, he was told by assistant coach Pablo Sanz that he had found a talented center forward in the second team. Talented center? Zidane was also immediately interested in the players who let his assistant coach evaluate them like this, so he carefully read Lin Chen's player analysis and game report. When he saw that Lin Chen entered Castile and scored 8 goals in only 2 games, he was also a little surprised, so he planned to come to the training base of the second team the next day to personally observe Lin Chen's training. In the stadium, Lin Chen was also hot when he saw Zidane. Is the chance to get into the first team coming? The same thought came to the minds of other players, so the players of the second team were also motivated and ready to perform. After a while, the game changed. After receiving the pass, Lin Chen wanted to use his body to squeeze the defenders away, but thinking of Raul's instructions, he first controlled the ball and waited for his teammates to respond. Even if Lin Chen did not rely on his body to break through, the defenders still could not steal the ball in the face of Lin Chen, and the ball was firmly controlled at Lin Chen's feet. At this time, Fran had already rushed along the side, and after Lin Chen handed the ball to Fran, he directly turned around and ran into the penalty area. As Fran passed the ball into the box, Lin Chen also seized the opportunity to score the ball directly. Facing the players of Castile, Lin Chen showed far beyond his peers' confrontation ability and super sense of smell in front of goal. Courtside. Zidane was also a little surprised to see the goal coming so quickly, and then walked over to Raul. "This is that genius center Lin Chen." Raul also smiled heartily. "I don't think you're well informed. Yes, he's the player I want to recommend to you." "Well, it's not bad." "Not bad?" Zidane didn't know how to answer the old captain Raul's words for a moment. "This is not only good, although I have seen the video of Lin Chen's goals in the first 2 games, but after coming to the scene in person, it is a different feeling. Although Lin Chen's small technique is not very outstanding, his physical talent and shooting skills can be said to have reached the level of the first team." Zidane even thought for a moment that Lin Chen would become the future of Real Madrid. Chapter 16. After seeing Lin Chen's ability, Zidane wanted to bring Lin Chen directly into the first team for a moment. But then Zidane dismissed the idea. Although Real Madrid are currently doing well in the League and Champions League, Zidane knows in his heart that the team's internal thunder is already at stake. In the middle of the season, when Real Madrid were in a 2-line situation, Real Madrid president Florentino told the media, "If the team fails to qualify for the Champions League knockout stage, then Zidane will be sacked." This made Zidane very dissatisfied. Whether as a player or a manager, he can be said to have done his best for Real Madrid, bringing countless titles and glory to this club, but he did not expect to be questioned by the club's senior management. That's just one of the reasons. The team's bigger trouble right now is with its own players. Although the season is not over, Cristiano Ronaldo, who is the star of Real Madrid and one of the most outstanding players in the football world. After a long 9 seasons at Real Madrid, Ronaldo hopes to leave Madrid and choose another leg for his career. Although many teams have made a lot of offers to Ronaldo before, at that time, Ronaldo did not want to leave the Bernabeu Stadium and leave this club full of his own memories. But this season, whether it is the team's recruitment policy or his own salary, Ronaldo does not feel that the president Florentino has enough sincerity to keep him. So after several fruitless communications with the club, Ronaldo became more and more determined to leave. Zidane also had a discussion with Florentino in order to keep Ronaldo, but Florentino seemed very tough and did not think that Real Madrid could not leave Ronaldo. Zidane is a little distressed. If Cristiano Ronaldo is gone, then who else can Real Madrid carry the banner of the team? In the face of the team's current contradictions, Zidane also had the intention to retreat. Therefore, Zidane shelved the idea of bringing Lin Chen into the first team for the time being, in order to avoid Lin Chen being branded as a former player after his contract expired this season. And the dressing room of the Real Madrid first team is not something that Lin Chen, a Chinese young player, can parry. Inside the Castilla training base, Zidane thought that this was also a bit of a headache, and then shook his head and walked out of Castilla's training ground. Inside the stadium, Lin Chen was also a little disappointed when he saw Zidane shake his head and leave. Maybe you haven't been able to meet the requirements of the first team yet? Lin Chen, who did not know the truth, thought that Zidane was not satisfied with his level before leaving. But then Lin Chen thought that with his own state, coupled with continuous improvement, it was only a matter of time before he entered the first team. So Lin Chen regained his confidence and focused on the game. In the end, Lin Chen scored 2 goals again to make the score 4-1. After a short break, according to Raul's arrangement, Santiago began targeted training for Lin Chen. The first is dribbling training. Although Lin Chen's performance in the first few games was very good, it was almost difficult to see Lin Chen advancing with the ball on the court. Perhaps Lin Chen's physical fitness and ability to grab points and shoot are too strong to cover up this weakness. After several attempts, Lin Chen also found that his dribbling ability was indeed too poor. At this time, Lin Chen's attribute points had also accumulated 18 points. So Lin Chen no longer hesitated, and simply added all the accumulated attribute values to the dribbling. In this way, the dribbling that originally only had 50 attributes now has 68 points, not to mention particularly excellent, but at least it is no longer his weakness. As soon as his attributes improved, Lin Chen suddenly noticed that his ability to control the ball had improved a lot. While the dribbling ability is improved, Lin Chen's ability to control and hold the ball is also improved. So when Lin Chen did dribbling training again, he was already able to firmly control the ball under his feet when moving quickly. Can you dribble so skillfully so quickly? Santiago was a little surprised. This was only the first day of special training, and Lin Chen's dribbling level had improved significantly. Santiago, who was slightly surprised, then added another sentence to Lin Chen's player analysis report. Top learning. Fast forward to the first day of April. Castilla travels away to challenge Pauchas quickly. Although this club in Portado in northwestern Spain is a small team, it also has a long history, dating back exactly 100 years. Perhaps Pauchas quickly became a bit shabby compared to some of the big teams, such as their home stadium, the Bapujers Stadium, which only had a capacity of 1,000 spectators. But that doesn't stop the small team's passion for football. As a promoted team that has just been promoted from the Western League of the Second Division, Pauchas quickly did not show discomfort with the Second Division B League, but on the contrary, the results this season were very good, and he even had an unbeaten record of 12 games before. Before the start of the game, head coach Raul announced the squad for the next game. Lin Chen unsurprisingly appeared in the starting list. Chapter 17. April 1st. 4 p.m. Spanish time. Paulo Cheese faces Castile at the Bapujers Stadium. Although this match was just an ordinary game for Castilla, the Paulo Traces team took this match very seriously. To play against Real Madrid, even if it is only a second team, is enough to make this small team excited for a long time. In the stadium, Lin Chen listened to the team song of Paulo Shaw's from the stands, and he was also a little moved. The humble stadium, which can only hold 1,000 people, was now packed with Paul Shaw's fans. In this small city with a total population of less than 300,000 people, it is indeed rare that so many fans come to watch a lobby match in order to support their own team. If the match of West BB is converted into a professional league in China, it may be the stage of China B, where some Central B teams do not even have their own fixed home stadium, let alone have so many fans. Lin Chen's heart was a little mixed for a while. After a brief kickoff ceremony, the players from both sides stood and the game began. The commentators of the previous match, Buck and Higgin, once again served as the commentators of the game. Castilla's starting lineup hasn't changed much, the only difference is Pedro's return to the starting lineup. Buck looked at the large list of both sides in his hand and explained to the audience, and Higgin added at this time. I'm afraid Pedro didn't expect that he was just missing 2 games injured, and his position as a center forward would be snatched away, and he could only play in front instead. As Higgin said. When Pedro saw that his main position was snatched away by a Chinese young player who had just joined the team, he was also a little annoyed. But then after Pedro learned from his teammates about Lin Chen's performance in the past 2 games, he was immediately speechless. Happy seniors. Beastly fitness. Extremely sensitive ability to grab points in front of the door. Being robbed of his main position by a player with such an amazing performance, Pedro can only temporarily suppress the dissatisfaction in his heart. But Raul did not forget Pedro, and this match Castilla chose a 4,231 formation. The center is naturally Lin Chen, and the 3 front courts are Rodriguez, Pedro, and Alex. The team's captain, Sione, partnered Federico at the back. The back line is still Fran, Adrian, Hernando, and Danny. On the other hand, the Paul's team did not choose to have a for-tat match with Castile, but chose a more secure 541 formation. When the commentator has introduced the starting list of both sides, the game officially begins. After the opening, Paulo Scair seemed to have anticipated that Castile would directly launch an onslaught, and the whole team temporarily retreated to its own half to resist Castilla's attack. Castilla was clearly surprised by the Paul's team, who had just set up the bus in the opening game, and several attacks repeatedly failed to work. In the 5th minute, Sione received the ball again and transferred it to Lin Chen's feet. After Lin Chen received the ball this time, he did not return the ball to his teammates as in the previous game, but chose to break through with the ball himself. I saw that the moment Lin Chen received the ball, his right heel slammed and the ball popped back, slipping Paul Shaw's defender Lopez together. After Lin Chen quickly turned around and got the ball, there was no defender in front of him, and in the face of the opposing goalkeeper Anguai who was attacking, Lin Chen shook another shot and snapped his left foot. Fake shot. Anguai, who fell to the ground, could only watch as Lin Chen fluttered the ball into the empty door. 0-1. Beautiful. Wonderful goal. In just 5 minutes, Lin Chen broke through the goal guarded by the Paul's Scair team. Unlike the previous 2 almost violent goals, this time Lin Chen chose a more ornamental way of scoring goals. Buck was also a little surprised to see Lin Chen score the ball by passing the opposing player twice in a row. The same expression appeared on the face of Paulo Shaw's head coach Luke. Before the game, Luke carefully analyzed Lin Chen's goals in the first 2 games. Luke found that most of Lin Chen's goals were scored by crushing the opposing defenders with his own body after receiving passes from his teammates. Therefore, before the start of this game, Luke specially arranged the players to focus on defending the passing route given to Lin Chen by the Castilla players. As long as he blocked the support of other players to Lin Chen, there was no need to engage in a brutal physical struggle with Lin Chen. But who would have thought that Lin Chen chose a person to drip this game, which made the players of the Paul's Scair team a little unexpected. There wasn't much time left for Luke to be upset. 10th minute of the game. Lin Chen was dribbling outside the penalty area line again, and Sione and Pedro were ready to respond at any time, which made Paulo Scair's players not know who was good to defend for a while, and the defense was flawed again. After Lin Chen and Sione made a simple wall collision. In the penalty area, Lin Chen, who was already in place, shot angrily with the ball, and the ball went into the net with a sound. Brace. 2 goals were scored in just 10 minutes. Raul was also shaking his fists excitedly on the sidelines. 10 goals in 3 games. What a monster player is this? Although Raul is sure that Lin Chen will score in this game, he only scored in 10 minutes, which Raul never expected. Even if this is just a game of La BB, the level is not very high, but the efficiency of this goal is too terrifying. Looking at the celebratory team members, Raul couldn't help but muttered in his heart. How long can these 2 teams keep Lin Chen? Chapter 18. 0-2. 2 goals were scored in just 10 minutes. The Bapujers Stadium has fallen silent at this time, and Paul's fans have some difficulty accepting the current situation. If it's just a matter of defensive carelessness, fans may still have a glimmer of hope. But judging from the scene, his home team is completely powerless against Castilla. Or more accurately, against Castilla's number 68 center forward. Almost single-handedly abused Paul Scholes and an entire team. And unlike the second team like Castilla, Paulo Chaz is an adult team, facing Castilla's group of players with an average age of only about 18 years old. Paulo Scholes was bloodied by 2 goals in the opening game. Just like a young student facing a group of big guys and directly punching and kicking them all away, Paul Scholes fans really find it difficult to accept this strong sense of gap. When the figure of number 68 Lin Chen appeared on the big screen again, Paul Scholes fans wondered what kind of player he had single-handedly defeated his home team. When Paul's Cheese fans picked up their mobile phones to check Lin Chen's information, they found that Lin Chen scored 8 goals in 2 games, even against the top Atletico Madrid B team in youth training. It took only half a game to stage the Big Four. It's worthy of the second team of Real Madrid, and it really is full of talent. Paul Scholes fans can only shake their heads secretly and smile bitterly. Lin Chen's kind of striker is really overkill in the field of West BB. On the pitch, Castilla was not satisfied with these 2 goals and continued to attack the Paulo Scare defense. After the Castilla players once again saw how powerful Lin Chen was, they also handed over all the balls to Lin Chen as much as possible. When a Paul's-sized defender wanted to step forward to steal, Lin Chen directly knocked him to the ground with his body. This time, both Raul and Luke were blindsided. Although it is already known that Lin Chen's physical fitness is very tough, he has faced young players before, and Lin Chen may not have such a sense of contrast when using his body to gain the upper hand. But the players of the Paul's Scare are adult players, and the physical gap between young players and adult players is 1 or 2 points. But now facing Lin Chen, a defensive player is simply not enough to see. Seeing this, Luke could only arrange for players to strengthen the defense of Lin Chen. On the court, the players of the Paulo Scholes team directly sent 3 players to Lin Chen to defend after receiving instructions from the head coach. 1 player can't be prevented, 3 can't be prevented. The Paul's Scare team moved almost half of the players in the backline to defend Lin Chen, and Lin Chen also scratched his head when he saw this scene. For the first time, I have seen a team defend itself like this. At this time, the rest of Castilla's players were also blindfolded. Kick or not? How come half of the backline went to surround Lin Chen? If it weren't for the normal game, the rest of Castilla's players would have thought that Paulo Cheese was angry and wanted to beat Lin Chen. But then the rest of the Castilla players got a little angry. What do you mean? Just defend Lin Chen alone, look down on us. Especially Pedro, although he was snatched away by Lin Chen before the position of Zhang Yin's center, was a little unhappy. But when he personally played a game with Lin Chen, he knew that it was not for nothing that he was deprived of his center position. After seeing that Lin Chen actually caused such a big threat to the other party on the field, Pedro also had some admiration in his heart. For a striker, the more the opponent values you, the stronger your strength is. Like Pedro, the rest of Castilla's players are holding their breath and trying to prove that they are not eating dry food. 22nd minute of the game. After Lin Chen attracted most of the attention of Paul's Scares, Pedro also saw the opportunity to successfully score the ball. 0-3. The Paulo Scholes team is completely broken at the moment. If Lin Chen strengthens his defense, other Castilla players will score, and if he does not strengthen his defense against Lin Chen will score goals. On the sidelines, Luke was also anxious to think about countermeasures. But before Luke could figure out how to deal with it, Lin Chen scored another goal. It is Lin Chen's signature goal method again. Forlan took the ball and advanced along the wing, then reached the corner and crossed to Lin Chen in the box. In the penalty area, Lin Chen was like a sandwich, caught between 2 defenders and a goalkeeper. Despite the situation, seeing the ball flying, Lin Chen still broke free from the defense and stood up to put the ball into the goal. 0-4. Hat-trick. Slaughter. This is a massacre. The Paulo Scare team has completely lost resistance. Lin Chen completely dominated this game. No matter where he was, he always threatened the goal of the Paulo Scare team. The 2 commentators were a little too excited at this point, so much so that the language could be cruel to Paul's clearance fans. On the pitch, goalkeeper Angie looked up at the sky with dull eyes. After seeing Lin Chen score the ball again, the other players of the Paulo Scare team also sat down on the ground with their heads down. Although head coach Luke knew that the team's confidence had been completely destroyed by Lin Chen alone, there was nothing he could do. Chapter 20. Castilla Training Base. Lin Chen once again added the 13 attribute values he had accumulated to the dribbling. The original dribbling at 68 o'clock has reached 81 o'clock at this time. Although 81 points has just reached the level of the 5 major leagues in the system's rating, Lin Chen's dribbling skills can be said to be the top players in the team at Castilla. At the same time, Santiago, the assistant coach who was giving Lin Chen special training, also found that Lin Chen's dribbling belt was making amazing progress. Santiago then reported Lin's performance to coach Raul, who was also surprised. Comparable to a La Liga level striker, has it improved so much? In just a few days, Lin Chen has gone from a player who couldn't even hold the ball steadily when dribbling, and now he can calmly dribble the ball under the pressure of defenders. Raul couldn't believe it at first, but after personally watching Lin Chen's training, he was also amazed at Lin Chen's strong learning ability. At this time, Raul had a small calculation in his heart. Since Lin Chen's learning ability is so strong, it is better to speed up the progress of Lin Chen's special training. In fact, Lin Chen's shortcomings, or deficiencies, are still many. Of course, Raul is comparing Lin Chen with the standards of the first team. For example, running without the ball, passing vision, retreating to do the ball, etc., Lin Chen still needs to learn a lot in these aspects. If he was just used as a point-grabbing center, Lin Chen would now be completely qualified. But Raul wants to evolve Lin Chen from a pie-eating center to an all-round center, and in the future, in the higher level of the game, these abilities are necessary for a good striker. After that, Santiago continued to train Lin Chen according to Raul's plan. Although there was a system, Lin Chen did not slack off because of this, but trained harder. As a player, if you don't control your diet, rest time, etc., even if you have high ability, you can't show it. Such examples are all over the world, such as Adriano, who was once favored as Ronaldo's successor. Ade is very similar to Lin Chen, with the physical qualities of a top striker, and eating the opponent's defense raw is the super shooter's specialty. But because of his indulgence in life, the blessed Ade soon could not adapt to the high-intensity game, and the killer who made people frightened and scored goals disappeared. While Lin Chen was conducting special training, Castile received an offer from Germany. Bundesliga overlord, Bayern Munich wants to take Lin Chen from Castilla. For Lin Chen, a young player, Bayern Munich directly offered a super transfer fee of 500 euros. You know, at the beginning of the season, Bayern spent only 2100 on a transfer fee of 2100 in order to completely keep Kingsley Coman, the 21-year-old French winger, at the Allianz Arena. And Lin Chen, as a player who has only played 3 Westby games, actually made Bayern willing to pay a transfer fee of 500 to take him away. So Raul was also a little surprised after receiving the news, and more surprised that it came from Bayern's scouting system, which found Lin Chen, a talented center forward, so quickly. Raul then speculated that Bayern might be looking for a replacement for Lewandowski. Since Lewandowski joined Bayern Munich in the 14 season, the Polish center forward has been with the team for almost 5 years. Lewandowski won almost every honor he could during his time at Bayern, and he created a miracle of 5 goals in 9 minutes in 15 years. But as Lewandowski gets older, it's inevitable that the 30-year-old Polish center-forward's form will decline. At this time, it is necessary to find a player for Lewandowski who can take over in the center-forward position, and Lin Chen, who just meets this condition, is young and talented. For Lin Chen's talent, Raul is undoubtedly the clearest, so although Bayern's sincerity is sufficient, Raul does not think that this price can take Lin Chen away. So Raul took the transfer offer and found the team's youth director, Emilio. In the future, Lin Chen's offers can be rejected altogether, and I don't want these off-stadium events to affect the future of Real Madrid. The future of Real Madrid? Emilio was stunned when he heard Raul's words, and he had such a high opinion of a young player. Who can say for sure in the future? Is it to think again? After all, it is just a youth player, and the price offered by Bayern is indeed very attractive. Emilio tried to persuade Raul again, but Raul waved his hand and refused. Lin Chen is not for sale for the team. There is no room for negotiation in this matter. Well, I believe in your vision. Seeing that Raul's attitude was so resolute, Emilio also dismissed the idea of selling Lin Chen. Fast forward to April 6th. Castilla will play at home to Cerceda next game, another senior team. And Lin Chen also maintained a very good state after this period of special training. Therefore, in the starting list announced before the game, Lin Chen was among them. When Chinese fans in the East learned the news, They set their alarms and prepared to watch the live broadcast of the game.